everyone, it's Chelsea jumping in here with a quick bonus video to talk about financial, online, romantic, just general scammery, because I and a few other people in my life this year have been directly impacted by scams or scam attempts. And I do think it's just like one of those good reminders that we should share as a channel every now and again, because although there are a lot of good people out there who are looking to actually help you personally, professionally, or financially, unfortunately, there are also a lot of scammers. And in times of economic distress, scammers become much more prevalent and much more ruthless in their tactics. So I am just going to take you through a few of the major scams, 9 in fact, that you should try to be aware of, protect yourself against before they happen, and also recognize them if they are happening. In addition to being victim to the many phishing attempt scams I received this year, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the video, and I've mentioned before here on the channel, I also was engaged in a holy war against Stubhub due to another common type of scam, which is fake tickets to an event. We'll also get into that later. But before we dive in, I want to take a second to thank this video's sponsor, Aura. So as I mentioned, and without fear-mongering here, financial scams are on the rise right now, both because of economic turbulence, but also because AI is making it a lot easier to trick people. It also makes it a lot easier for scammers to do their jobs, aka attempt to scam as many people as possible in the shortest amount of time. So in order to protect yourself, your loved ones, and all of the super sensitive information that scammers are looking for, we cannot recommend Aura enough. Aura is an award-winning all-in-one digital safety solution to help keep you safe from identity theft, financial fraud, and other online threats. It also couldn't be simpler to set up and to use in just a few minutes. Aura activates your identity protection and requests removal of your personal info from data brokers and spam lists. Yes, including the annoying spam robocalls that you seem to keep getting. Along with dark web and social security number monitoring, Aura comes with 100% US-based customer support that's available 24/7, and all subscription plans are backed with $1 million in identity theft insurance. Plus, Aura offers some of the fastest financial fraud alerts around. And right now, Aura's offering TFD viewers up to 68% off with plans starting at just $9 a month. Don't put off protecting yourself any longer. Click the link in our description to sign up for Aura today. Now let's get right into it with the 9 scams you need to be watching out for, no matter how savvy you are. Number 1 is pop-ups pretending to be tech support. Now, web browser pop-ups are common, but these can also come in the form of things like text messages and calls. Basically, the scammer will present themselves as coming from a well-known company and use a lot of technical terms to seem legitimate. And they're essentially acting as if they're attempting to support you or even protect you in some way. For example, they might tell you to download or open a file or to run a scan on your computer, which will find fake problems that your computer doesn't actually have. And according to the FTC, the scammers often then ask you to give them remote access to your computer, which lets them access all information stored on it or on any network connected to it, try to enroll you in a worthless computer maintenance or warranty program, install malware that gives them access to your computer and sensitive data like usernames and passwords, ask for credit card information so they can bill you for phony services or services available elsewhere for free, try to sell you software or repair services that are worthless or available elsewhere for free again, or direct you to websites and ask you to enter credit card, bank account, and other personal info. Generally speaking, you should always ignore pop-ups that are people posing as sort of random tech or customer support. But if it is, for example, from an organization that you might know, be aware of, use yourself, take the extra step and actually contact that company yourself to make sure it is them reaching out to you. And the best way to protect yourself against these type of scams is to make sure you're using a secure password manager and to also utilize legitimate security software that scans your devices for malware itself. Number 2 is spear phishing or grandparent scams. Quote, spear phishing is a type of phishing attack that targets a specific individual, group, or organization. These personalized scams trick victims into divulging sensitive data, downloading malware, or sending money to an attacker. And we are saying grandparent scams, although it is worth noting that spear phishing goes after people of all ages. And if you didn't know, phishing is basically when a scammer pretends to look like a more legitimate website or prompt so that you enter sensitive information, essentially. Often these scammers will pretend to be someone that the victim knows personally. By the way, this is one of the many reasons why AI is making it easier and easier to scam people, because it increasingly allows people to, for example, spoof other people's voices. Also, fun fact, spear phishing seniors is what sent Jen Shaw to prison. Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, anyone? Now, we should say that spear phishing is by far not the most common type of scam, but it is one of the most effective. Quote, in a report from Barracuda that analyzed 50 billion emails, researchers found that spear phishing accounted for less than 0.1% of the emails, but led to 66% of successful breaches. While the average breach caused by phishing costs $4.76 million, according to the cost of a data breach report, spear phishing attacks can climb as high as $100 million US. Now, cybersecurity tools like secure email and web gateways are really important here, so we'll link you in the description to a resource list for protecting yourself against spear phishing, but it's worth noting that it is almost never a good idea to trust a number or an email you don't know, even if it says it's coming from someone that you do. Additionally, if the email or phone call appears to be from a loved one in distress, always call them directly to confirm. Number 3 is blackmail or extortion scams. Now, these often look like really creepy / scary / intimidating emails that say that you've been watched, you've been stalked, you've done something nefarious, and people have seen or recorded it, and they're gonna put your shit on blast, basically. I have personally received over the past year, like literally 100 emails to this effect. Now, luckily for me, the scammers who were trying to get me to fall for this scam were basically, they're like, we've been cyber stalking you, we've seen what you've done on your computer, we have all the footage, you have to send us, I think it was like some amount of Bitcoin essentially, and then we won't do anything with it. And what they do is they put like your full name, your address, and like a photo from Google Maps outside of your home. Now, of course, now I've like received so many of them. Also, a lot of them start just hello pervert, which I think is like such a funny way to start an email, even a scam email. But anyway, now I like laugh at them and I just report them. But when I initially got them, it was really scary. My heart really like fell out of my chest when I first saw it. But of course I went on Reddit and it was like a copy and paste of a scam that like millions of other people had been receiving. But it is really scary when it happens, and they can be effective. Quote, in 2023, the FBI reported 48,000 extortion victims, which is a 22% jump from 2022, and many of the victims are actually Gen Z, who were also much more likely to fall for the scams, with 28% experiencing one. They're usually worded in a way to seem just specific enough to make you panic a little bit, but do look out for generic language, an urgent deadline, or awkward wording, because these types of scams are typically a numbers game rather than a more targeted spear phishing attempt. And according to Dan Ackerman, editor-in-chief of Micro Center News, quote, it never says what you've been doing in your house or on your webcams or on what devices. There are no specifics like that, and that's how you know they're not real. They're usually not written very well. Now, of course, automatically report any emails like this that you receive, or if it's a number, block them immediately. But remember that using a data removal service like Aura can also help prevent attacks like this in the future. Number 4 is IRS scams. Now, these will often come in the form of a scary phone call from an IRS agent that sort of comes out of nowhere. Usually they're telling you some version of you owe money on a refund or back taxes, or there was some kind of error with your taxes that is essentially leaving you in a position of owing a ton of money, or something very bad will happen and will try to get you to divulge personal financial information. It's worth saying that sometimes people really do get into big trouble for not paying the IRS. Even many celebrities have gone to prison for such a reason. But for every one of these actual crimes or even errors that ends up in serious consequences for the people who aren't paying their taxes, there are infinitely more of these scammers pretending to be the IRS. So much that the IRS has shared warnings to help watch out for impersonators. Here are a few things to look out for. A big payday. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Bad tax advice on social media may convince you to lie on tax forms or to mislead you about credits that you can claim. Demands or threats, like impersonators who want you to pay now or else. They'll often threaten arrest or deportation. They don't let you question or appeal the amount of taxes that you owe. If any website links look odd or misspelled. Frequent calls and text messages out of nowhere. Because remember that most IRS communication is going to come through actual physical mail and can always be verified on the IRS website. And the IRS will never contact you or take payments via social media, accept gift cards or prepaid debit cards as payment, threaten to call law enforcement or immigration officials, take your citizenship status, driver's license, or business license, leave pre-recorded voicemails, or mail tax debt resolution advertisements. Now, especially in our pretty chaotic economy as it pertains to the job market, another increasingly common scam out there is fake job listings. Now, if your text message inbox is anything like mine, you have been receiving a flood of random texts about remote job opportunities that pay a suspiciously large hourly rate for insanely easy/low lift work, often taking place for just an hour or two a day. And often these people will talk about how they found you on LinkedIn or saw your resume or were contacted by a headhunter. These scams sound too good to be true because they are, in fact, fake, and job scams like this have been hugely on the rise in the past several years. And these job scams come in many forms. A common one is a remote work opportunity that will ask you to submit payment for a piece of equipment like a computer, which you'll then never receive as you never actually had that job because it doesn't exist. The scammer just took your money. Beware of any job listing, by the way, even if you find it yourself that requires you to pay a fee, that is likely a scam in some form. And even if it's a real job, any job that requires you to pay a fee to apply is insane. Another thing to watch out for with fake jobs is credit checks. Because while some companies do run credit checks on potential employees, which is a discussion for another day, legitimate job opportunities should never ask you to cover the cost of the credit check. So if that happens, it's likely a scam. And these are just a few of the top line issues that we see happening over and over again in these job listing scams, but we will link you to a more comprehensive breakdown in the description because especially if you are currently on the job hunt or getting out of school, you are likely to be targeted constantly with this nonsense. And speaking of targeting vulnerable people, number 6 is debt relief/credit repair scams. Now, a common scam that is also on the rise right now is companies that are reaching out often in a threatening or menacing way to collect on some kind of debt, or to help you try to renegotiate your debt or to improve your credit. And as someone who used to be in a bunch of credit card debt that did go to collections, I can attest firsthand that collections calls and messages can sometimes themselves feel scary, even if they are legitimate, but it's important to remember that a lot of them are scams. And they're generally targeting consumers who are already quite financially stressed and used to being somewhat harassed or in a bad position with financial institutions, so are often more likely to take them as legitimate. But according to the FTC, quote, these operations often charge cash-strapped consumers a large upfront fee, but then fail to help them settle or to lower their debts, if they provide any service at all. Some debt relief scams even tout their services using automated robocalls to consumers on the do not call list. In 2010, the FTC amended its telemarketing sales rule to protect consumers seeking debt relief services, like debt settlement or credit counseling. The rule prohibits for-profit companies that sell these services over the telephone from charging a fee before they actually settle or reduce a consumer's debt. It also prohibits debt relief providers from making misrepresentations and requires that they disclose key information that consumers need in evaluating these services. Case in point, any debt service that asks you to pay a bunch of money up front is probably a scam. But as I mentioned in the intro, one of the reasons that scams are becoming a lot more prevalent right now is because of the rise of AI, which brings us to number 7, which is deepfake audio and video scams. So you may have seen the rise of influencers and celebrities reporting the deep-faked use of their likeness for everything from adult content to advertisements. And although we might like to think that this deepfake content only really succeeds in tricking boomers, I regret to inform you that young people are essentially equally susceptible in being tricked by this stuff. And often when it comes to scams, these deep-faked audios and videos are used to trick someone into thinking that they're talking to a person they know. Quote, also known as voice cloning, these technologies emulate recognizable voices for robocalls to consumers and are often used in imposter scams that spread misinformation, endorse products, or steal money and personal information. Scammers may try to fool an unsuspecting grandparent that a grandchild is in trouble and needs immediate financial assistance, or to solicit donations to a fake charity endorsed by what sounds like a trusted celebrity. And some of these scams have been shockingly lucrative. In 2024, quote, a finance worker at a multinational firm was tricked into paying out $25 million to fraudsters using deepfake technology to pose as the company's chief financial officer in a video conference call. The elaborate scam saw the worker duped into attending a video call with what he thought were several other members of staff, but all of whom were in fact deepfake recreations. Yikes. So we'll link you guys to the FTC's full guidelines on protecting yourself from these scams. But remember, do not answer unknown numbers if you are not explicitly expecting a call, and never give out sensitive information to any unsolicited call. And if you're at all worried about the security of the information you currently have out there, again, we highly recommend checking out Aura. Now, turning the tables a bit, we have number 8, which may sound like a joke, but I assure you is not, romance scams. Usually started on dating apps or websites, romance scams tend to be a particularly devastating type of scam because in addition to often completing their actual goal, which is taking money or precious information from the target, they also emotionally devastate them because they're generally picking people at a time of extreme emotional vulnerability when they're looking for love. Now, the profiles of the scammers will often look really detailed and legitimate, making it difficult to sort out the scammers from the regular dating app duds. According to the FTC, quote, people reported a record $547 million in losses to romance scams in 2021. That's up about 80% from the reports the FTC got in 2020. And these scammers tend to tell the same types of lies, so look out for the following. Quote, scammers say they can't meet you in person. They might say that they're living or traveling outside the country, working on an oil rig, in the military, or with an international organization. Scammers will ask you for money. Once they gain your trust, they'll often ask for help to pay for medical expenses for them or a family member. I have to jump in here and say that one of the funniest things on French TikTok over the past two things, funny and sad, was this woman who got repeatedly scammed for, I think, close to $1 million by a man posing as Brad Pitt on a dating website. Here are just a few of the photos that Brad Pitt used to scam this woman. Yeah, French TikTok was having a field day with that for a couple months. But once they gain your trust, they'll often ask for help to pay for medical expenses, like in the case of a fake Brad Pitt, to buy their ticket to visit you, to pay for their visa, or to help them pay fees to get them out of trouble. They may even offer to help you to get started in cryptocurrency investing. It probably goes without saying, but crypto is a huge part of essentially all these scams. And lastly, quote, scammers will tell you how to pay. All scammers, not just romance scammers, want to get your money quickly, and they want to get your money in a way that makes it hard for you to get it back. They'll tell you to wire money through a company like Western Union or MoneyGram, put money on gift cards like Amazon, Google Play, iTunes, or Steam, and give them the PIN codes to send money through a money transfer app or to transfer cryptocurrency. So be very suspicious in general on dating websites because there are a lot of people who aren't necessarily scammers, but don't necessarily have the best intentions for you either. But particularly as it pertains to anything involving money, generally assume that if it's happening via someone you met on a dating site, especially before you even met them in person, it's probably a scam. And likely that person isn't even real. Lastly, number 9 is fraudulent ticket listings, which is yet another scam that I fell victim to this year. Now, this is exactly what it sounds like, which is essentially fake or non-existent tickets being posted on legitimate third ticket party websites. Anyone who was following me on social media in October of last year remembers the holy crusade I engaged in against Stubhub, where essentially I paid over $2,000 US to surprise my husband with F1 tickets for our anniversary last June. He's obsessed with Formula One. He's never been to a race. It's his favorite thing, blah, 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 blah. Only to find out that those tickets did not exist and never did. And of course, I was outraged personally and fought like hell to get my money back after having to go through like literally 40 different customer service people who were all trying to gaslight me into thinking that it was somehow my fault or that the tickets were actually real and you had to just kind of show up and work it out with the venue. And something I learned from my many, many repeated calls to Stubhub is that scams are so prevalent on websites like this that you literally, when you call to speak to a customer service person, will be greeted by a recording that tells you that if it's related to pursuing action for, and then they insert a list of popular concert tours like Taylor Swift and Beyonce, to press a number to go directly to that part of their "I've been scammed, please help me" customer service line. But anyway, in addition to the fact that I will never again in my life use StubHub, here are a few things to look out for. Quote, prices that seem too good to be true. While everyone loves saving money, usually low prices can be a warning sign. If tickets for a sold-out concert are suddenly available at half the original price, be suspicious. Unusual payment methods. Be wary of sellers who only accept wire transfers or prepaid money cards, because these payment methods offer little to no protection for buyers. Lookalike websites. Be cautious of websites with URLs that vary from official ticket sites, and always double-check the website address before entering any information. Lack of reseller information. Legitimate resale platforms usually provide information about the seller. If you can't find any details about who you're buying from, it might be a scam. And always read the customer protection and refund policies and try whenever possible to purchase directly from the venue. Anyway, these 9 scams are certainly not an exhaustive list of every type of scam that exists out there, especially, again, with the rise of AI and how much easier it's made it to scam people. But it is a good reminder that this stuff is happening all day, every day, and especially if you are in any kind of vulnerable position already. You're looking for a job, you're looking for love, you have debt that's gone to collections, you're in a financially stressed out position, you're a senior, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're even more vulnerable to the types of scams that are targeting everyone to begin with. So although it sometimes goes against our nature, be as skeptical as possible, especially when it comes to anyone on your phone that you don't know. To begin with, don't even answer, but if you somehow make the mistake of answering, make sure to double check any information that they give you with the actual institution that they're referencing. If they're from a bank, you should be able to call your bank and see if they actually tried to contact you. If they say they're from the IRS, you should be able to look that up on the IRS website, and so on and so forth. Making money is one thing, but protecting it is just as important. So protect yourself from all kinds of scams with great products like Aura, and I'll see you back on the channel soon. Bye, guys.